Hey, what is up guys, it's Anime Weekly back with another video. So I'm happy to say that my school's almost finished, so I'll be able to spend more time developing my script and such. Also, I'm going to be getting a new editing / gaming PC soon, so my video shouldn't take like a decade to render. I'm also going to get a new mic around that time. I'm thinking of getting a Blue Yeti or something similar so the audio doesn't sound crappy. But when it does arrive, I'm just going to redo some of my old videos to make it sound better. And thank you guys for the amount of growth. It's barely been like 2 weeks and the channel is growing so fast. All I can say is thank you. Okay, sorry for the wait, but like and subscribe and don't be a bitch. Okay, so the last video we left off at All for One bestowing quirks of Baku. So then, Baku Katsuki, I bestow upon you the quirks of Hyper Sweat, Acid Diacide, Acid Sweat, and Recoil Body, allowing you to be able to produce monumental blasts compared to what you had before. The azidized acids is the most explosive chemical. In Hyper Sweat is to draw out even more firepower. In Recoil Body is to help lessen the strain of your blast. You will still feel pain, but you will be able to lessen it by exercising, strengthening your Recoil Body, greatly reducing the strain of your new blast. But this doesn't really change anything. Before, you were able to release infinite small-scale blasts because they didn't cause large-scale vibrations in your body. But now, with the added effect of your Hyper Sweat, it may be too tough for your body to handle. So for now, instead of Hyper Sweat, I shall give you fire palms and feet. You will be able to create fire through only your hands and feet, allowing you to create larger scale blasts by amplifying the spark of your explosions with your flames. For now, train your body so that you can maintain your blasts. And to help you with this, I'm giving you muscle growth. In this way, your body will destroy and rebuild your muscles faster than any normal humans, making your muscles a lot bigger and stronger. And from now on, your villain name is Boom, and this is your new gear. Look at the screen because that's going to be his new hero costume. If you want further power, then ask the doctor for some upgrades, and you will become the right hand of Shigaraki, my successor. You two will carry the world into a new age of power, where only the powerful are respected, and the weak are casted aside. Okay, so now we're going to skip to the rescue, but I need to change a few things. Momo doesn't get injured because Todoroki protected her, and Deku was there. Also, Deku and Todoroki don't go with Kirishima, and neither does Momo. Deku and Todoroki convince Momo not to go because it would be too dangerous and reckless. They also convince her not to give Kirishima the tracker because they realize that it would be too dangerous for him to go alone because he has no backup. Because that little shit Ida is dead. And after repeated protests, they would convince Inasa not to go. Also, don't be surprised when Ida dies in the future because I just hate that forward. Now the fight between All Might and All for One goes the same, except Baku doesn't resist the villains when told to get into the portal, as they are teleported away. Yue is under stress because they failed to rescue Baku and he became a villain, so they're under constant attack from the media, worsening their reputation as the #1 school. The students still move into the dorms. Okay, so now we would be doing the ultimate move training for 10 days. Since Deku and Todoroki have been training with Endeavor and Inko for like all of their lives, they've already developed hero moves, so the only changes are going to be the hero costumes. So Deku's costume is going to look like Todoroki's one of the manga, and Todoroki's is going to be like Inko's in the picture above. Also, the only changes Inasa will make towards his costume would be new air gauntlets. His air gauntlets would be able to shoot out air that he can then control and propel in the form of a stronger attack, and would also allow him to shoot more controlled bursts of wind, making his attacks smaller but stronger. So now the provisional license exam. When the test starts, Todoroki blasts himself into the air and says, "Ice Age!" as he freezes the entire arena and its contestants. Deku surrounds the rest of his classmates with fire so the ice doesn't affect them, and Class 1A simply takes the balls and puts them on their frozen contestants of the other classes, failing all the other students from the other classes and schools. Now to the other part of the exam. As they were told to rescue the civilians, Todoroki converts his wasteland of ice into snow, then water, letting the civilians down safely. Then Deku sends a wave of fire around the arena, heating them up. And the rest of the students are rescuing the citizens when Gang Orca and his gang came. But because of Todoroki's attack at the beginning, freezing the arena and turning it to ice and then snow, there aren't really any injured civilians. So the test ends and all of 1A has received their hero licenses. So now to the work study explanations by the Big Three. The Big Three is going to be changed to the Big Five. Instead of Mirio being #1, he's going to be #3 because Natsuo and Toya are 3rd years, and they are both equal in strength. So now to the Mirio beating the students. Inasa, Todoroki, and Deku are told to stand by and watch since they're the strongest of the class. Now to the meeting between Overhaul and Shigaraki. As they start fighting, Baku says, "Well then, I guess it's time to test out my new move, Explosive Barrage!" As Baku lets off pellets of explosions from his mounted machine gun on his shoulder, and heats up his hands and sends pellets of explosions to Overhaul's group, exploding on impact. Overhaul uses his members as human shields, killing them. As Overhaul revives his members, he says, "Well, let's cool off. We can talk about negotiations another time." SM and his crew leave. Now to work studies. Deku and Todoroki go to Endeavor and Inko's agency, but Nasa, in place of Deku, goes to study with Night Eye. Now to the discussion of Overhaul's Yakuza group. I'm gonna say that Endeavor was also invited as the #1 hero for backup. Now to the battle. After Night Eye had received the intel of where Eri was, they proceeded to launch an assault. As soon as they arrived, Nasa created wind cores and choked the villains, knocking them out, allowing all the heroes and police members to enter the Yakuza hideout. Toya and Natsuo went separately to fight the other villains, helping Fat Gum and Night Eye. As the cops and heroes bulldozed through, Endeavor, Deku, Shoto, and Nazo fly straight through the hideout. So this way, Mirio would have backup. As Mirio is fighting Overhaul, and as Overhaul is losing, he tosses the ammo of cork-sealing bullets to the other Yakuza members. But then at that moment, the box of ammo is ignited and burning and killing the Yakuza member, and the quirk erasing bullets. As Endeavor and his sons and Anasa arrive, Anasa says, "Futon's judgment," as Anasa wraps wind around Overhaul's neck, choking him. Then as Overhaul is on the ground saying, "Stop, I can't breathe." "Oh, you can't breathe? Then looks like you need some air," said Anasa, as he lets off the choking collar of wind around Overhaul and says, "Human balloon." As Overhaul breathed in air, Anasa started pushing large amounts of air inside of Overhaul, making Overhaul's head as big as a balloon. As he says, "Please, no, I'm begging you." "Well, you didn't stop when you're ripping Eri to shreds, you monster, so why should I stop now? Repent with your life, damn scum." And then a splatter can be heard as Overhaul's head exploded due to the air pressure. So Overhaul and his gang are dead, but so is Twice and Toga, because Toya and Natsuo aren't merciful. The other changes that occurred to this were the livelihood of Sir Night Eye and Shigaraki wouldn't have the quirk destroying bullets. And in the manga, most of them were destroyed, so it doesn't really matter. Or crap, that might be a spoiler or whatever. So now to the music festival. As Class 1A is dancing and showing their musical talent, suddenly an explosion can be heard as villains and Nomus start breaking through the roof, appearing in the gym. Bakugo says, "Dragons burst," as he lets off a giant blast, killing most of the people in the crowd. The heroes and students immediately start to combat the villains and Nomus, but most of them aren't wearing their hero costumes, so they're at a direct disadvantage. Deku creates a barrier of heat around the civilians and creates a path for them to escape. As they are escaping, Bakugo says, "Not on my watch," as he says, "Demonic barrage," as he lets off pelts of explosions onto the roof. As it starts to crumble and fall, Todoroki creates a roof of ice over their heads to protect them from the rubble. As the students of UA are fighting the villains, the heroes are fighting against the Nomos. And Nasa says, "You guys take care of the Nomos, I'll take care of Bakugo," as he flies towards him. And Nasa says, "Wind Emperor," as he powers up to 80% of One For All and flies towards Bakugo, and says, "Futon's punch," and uses 100% of One For All and punches Bakugo in the face, breaking Bakugo's jaw. Bakugo, with blood in his mouth, spits it out and looks at Nasa and says, "That was pretty strong, Gusty, but All For One has did a lot worse than that to me," as he says, "Counter punch," as Bakugo punches Nasa in the gut with 2 times the strength of his Futon punch, blasting Nasa across the gym as he crashes and lands in a wall. Bakugo is saying that Todoroki, Deku, and Endeavor are struggling to use their quirks since they're all contained in an environment with bystanders, starts to kill the students of UA. And as he lets off another dragon's burst, he ends up killing Uraka. "You bastard," said Deku, as he shot a spear of flame towards Bakugo. Bakugo caught the flame with his bare hands and was about to throw back at Deku when Deku says, "Spread." As the flame spreads around Bakugo's body, it starts to incinerate him, causing him to explode due to the amount of sweat on his body. Causing a giant explosion, he says, "Finally." But as he's about to fly away, he sees Bakugo and his body starts to regenerate. He says, "Huh?" And Bakugo says, "You thought you can kill me with that? Nice try. I ripped my head off and threw it before it could explode." And Deku said, "You really went so far as to turn yourself into a Nomu? For what? Power. Yes, power. To kill you damn twins and everything you care for." As Bakugo then says, "My body adjusted temperature. That flame spear was your last chance to kill me." "Impossible," said Deku, as he said, "Hell's Blade," as he concentrated his flames into a sword, heating it up. It's so hot that everyone in the gym starts to sweat as they see a shining, blazing white sword of flames. "What are you doing? I already told you that was your last chance. It doesn't matter if that was my last chance. You made yourself walking TNT, and I'm the spark. So even if my flames don't kill you, your own quirk will." As Deku blasted himself up towards Bakugo, Bakugo was trying to escape, but as soon as Deku caught up with him, he sliced him into tiny bits, causing a giant explosion. As Bakugo's hands had survived and were regrowing his whole body, Todoroki said, "Dead zero," as he shot off blasts of ice so cold the surrounding air started to form snow. As it hit Bakugo's body, it froze every cell in his body, and then a beaten Naza stands up and says, "Air prison," as he formed a barrier of wind around the frozen Bakugo and started making the ball of wind smaller and smaller, crushing Bakugo, ripping his body into shreds. As Anaza closes his hands, Bakugo has been killed, and not a part of him remains, as it has been crushed by the air pressure. As the security team for UA comprised of pro heroes arrive, they help secure the safety of the civilians and the students. After the event is over, the media has lessened their attack on UA, but they are still trying to shame them for Bakugo turning into a villain. Now to the hero debut. Please welcome Endeavor, the King of Fire, as the #1 hero. In this version, Endeavor's gonna be kinder to fans because he has kids of his own, but he's still gonna be kind of a jerk. And now, Everyone, please welcome the number 2 hero, Frost, the Queen of Ice, Inko. And for the number 3 hero, the bird hero, Hawks. I don't remember what they said. Like, I don't remember what his intro is. Like, I don't really care. Now to the fight between Endeavor and the Nomo. In this fight, Inko will be there, so things will go a lot smoother and faster than in the original. There also wouldn't be any casualties because she could just freeze the building from falling. And the media wouldn't backtalk Endeavor because he didn't struggle in the fight between him and the Nomo because him and his wife kept the damage to a minimum. Also, as I progressed in this video, I started to notice some progression of my What If Deku series are too fast. From this point on, I'm going to try to devote more time to storytelling to make the stories more interesting and diversifying stories. Because when you make what ifs, it's usually on the premise of making the characters stronger, but that also speeds up the plot, and currently My Hero Academia isn't even finished yet, but its current rate will most likely end in a year or two, and I don't have that much time to wait just to finish the what ifs. I can give them abrupt endings and change the storyline, but that would be unfulfilling and boring in some cases. That's why I'm going to try to diversify my content and what ifs into animes like Dragon Ball, Hunter x Hunter, Naruto, Demon Slayer, High School DxD, probably not, but I'm gonna get demonetized, and like just regular popular mainstream animes with endings, or at least multiple episodes. And this way, if I do like 3 videos a week, they can all be different and unique, so I could have a rotation of animes to do what ifs on, not just what if Dekus. Also, so this way I could build up a higher subscription base by adding different fan bases. This isn't going to be immediate, but this will be implemented later on. Also, if you want to keep watching this series, then I can adapt content from the manga, but just know that you will be spoiled, so take it with a grain of salt. But if you don't want to be spoiled, then read the manga. And before I go, remember, sub, don't be a Bye.